Dear learners, I hope all of you are fine. I'm also fine with the grace of Almighty Lord. Dear learners, I hope always you are staying home and following your classes properly. And you are practicing our classes and your works properly staying home. Dear learners, you know that COVID-19 is spreading rapidly, and for these reasons you should always stay home and you should follow the rules of health. And if you have any emergency works, at the time of going out, you should wear mask properly and you should wash your hands properly. Dear learners, in the last sessions, I gave you a class on transformation of sentence, affirmative to negative. And this is the second class on transformation of sentence, affirmative to negative. Dear learners, I hope you are practicing staying home. And today I will give you two rules on changing affirmative to negative. You try to practice staying home. Dear learners, on the board you can see here that I've written here an affirmative and negative, and I am teaching you today the rules. If you have any both and in affirmatives, you will have to write not only instead of both, and you will have to use but also instead of and. Dear learners, you can see that both he and I helped him. There is word both and. So instead of both, you will have to use here not only, and instead of and, you will have to use here but also. So the sentence is both he and I helped him will be not only he but also I helped him. Dear learners, at the time of changing the negative to affirmatives, you will have to use both instead of not only and instead of but also. I'm going to give you more examples to make it clear to you. Try to follow me. Dear learners, on the board you can see a sentence, another sentence, that she gave him both food and money. In affirmative sentence, so I told you before that instead of both at the time of writing or changing it to negatives, you will have to write instead of, you will have to use not only instead of both and but also instead of and. So you can say that she gave him both food and money. So she gave him not only food and but also money. So I have used here not only instead of both and but also instead of and. So if you have not only in negative sentence, at the time of changing it to affirmative, you will have to write both instead of not only and instead of but also. So dear learners, I'm going to give you more example to make it clear here. So follow me. Dear learners, on the board you can see a sentence, another sentence, that they are both students and actors. They are both students and actors. There is both and for this reason, dear learners, you can see that there is a sentence, they are both students and actors in the sentence, and they are not only students but also actors. So there is both and there is both and in affirmative sentence. So instead of both, I have used here not only, and instead of and, I have used here but also. So they are both students and actor. If there is the negative sentence, will be they are not only students but also actors. Dear learners, I hope you have understood these rules. In the first sentence, you can see that both he and I helped him. So I have used here not only he but also I helped him. And the next sentence, you can see that she gave him both food and money. So she gave him not only food but also money. In the next sentence, you can see that they are both students and actors. And in the negative sentence, you can say that they are not only students but also actors. Dear learners, you try to practice these rules, and I'm going to give you another rules. Dear students, in the sentence you can see that I have given you another rules. If you have must in affirmative sentence, at the time of changing into negatives, you will have to use cannot, but, then present form of verbs, and you can use also cannot help. If you use cannot help, then you will have to use ing with the present form of verb. I have given you already an examples. You can see on the board that we must obey our parents. So there is the word must. If you have must, then you will have to use cannot but at the time of changing into negative. And after cannot but, you have to use the present form of verbs. I have used here cannot but, then the present form of verb. And instead of this, you can also help cannot help. You can also use cannot help, then ing with the present form of verb. The meaning of both sentences are same. So we cannot but obey our parents, or we cannot help obeying our parents are same. You can use any format of the sentence at the time of changing into negative. So I am going to make you understand it again. If you have must in affirmative sentence, you can use here cannot but. After cannot but, you will have to use present form of verb, and after cannot help, you will have to use ing with the present form of verb. So that is an example. We must obey our parents. So we cannot but obey our parents. Or you can write here, we cannot help obeying our parents. Dear learners, I'm going to give you more example to make you understand it. So you try to follow it. Dear learners, you can see another example of this rule. In this sentence, you can see that she must flee. She must flee, there is a must. So at the time of changing into negatives, you will have to use cannot but, then the present form of verb. Or you can use also cannot help, then ing with the present form of verb. You can see here that she cannot but flee. Instead of must, I have used here cannot but, then the present form of verbs. And after cannot helps, you will have to write here ing with the present form of verbs. She cannot help fleeing, or she cannot but flee. Dear learners, you can understand it easily. If so, I hope it is clear to you. If you have must in affirmative sentence, you will have to use cannot help, then present form of verb at the time of changing into negative, or cannot help, then ing with the present form of verb in negative sentence. So if you have cannot help, then ing with the present form of verbs, then at the time of changing into affirmatives, you will have to use must, then present form of verb. Because must is a modal auxiliary verb, so you will have to use present form of verb after must or can. So dear learners, always you know that after modal auxiliary verb, we have to use present form of verbs. And if you have help, then you will have to write here ing with the present form of verb. So I hope it is clear to you. So I'm going to make you understand the next rule. Dear learners, in the board you can see the next rules. If you have had to in affirmative sentence, then you will have to use could not but or could not help instead of had to. If you want to change into negative, then you will have to use could not but or could not help instead of had to. I have given you already an example on these rules here. On the board you can see we had to leave the place. In the sentence you can see that we could not but leave the place. So I have already used here, there is have to in affirmative sentence. So instead of had to, I have used here could not, but then the present form of verb. And if you used here, you can also use here could not help. Then if you used here could not help, then you will have to use ing with present form of verb. So I hope it is clear to you. If you have had to, then you will have to use could not, but then present form of verb, or could not help, then ing with the present form of verb. And if you have could not but or could not help, then you will have to use had to at the time of changing into affirmative sentence. Then after had to, you will have to use present form of verb. Dear learners, because had to is a modal auxiliary verb, so you will have to use always present form of verbs after all modal auxiliary verbs. Dear learners, I am going to give you more example to make it clear to you. Dear learners, on the board you can see that she had to cry here. In the affirmative sentence, that is she had to cry, because had to, I have used here present form of verb. And at the time of writing into negatives, you will have to use here could not, but then the present form of verbs, I have used here could not but, then the present form of verb, could not but, then present form of verb instead of have to. And you can also here could not is not but, could not help, then ing with the present form of verb. Dear learners, I hope, dear learners, if you have had to, then you will have to you will have to use your could not but then the present form of verb, and or you can use your could not help then ing with the present form of verbs at the time of changing into negative. And if you want to change it into affirmatives, you instead of could not but or could not help, you will have to use had to then the present form of verbs. If you have she had to or she could not but cry, so instead of had to, you will have to use your had to. Dear learners, I hope you have understood it clearly. So I have already taught you 3 rules on at the time how you can change it negative to affirmative and affirmative into negatives. You try to always practice this staying home. I hope you will make a good result, because you have transformation of sentence and you have 5 numbers in this. So if you practice this, you will make a good result. I hope always you are practicing, and if you face any problem, please send us message. I will try to solve your problems. Okay, bye bye.